Hey, g'day guys, it's Calvin from the Cartoon Company in New Zealand. Got a little bit of a problem. I sold the injectors out of my test engine. So we've got the 3UZ test engine, and guys that are paying attention will notice that these are not 3UZ coils. They are the early 1UZ VVti coil. That's a 3UZ coil. But the distinctive feature for a 3UZ is the tappet cover with the oil filler. I had a man who had an engine that wasn't running. There was issues. I believe there may have been a fire and he needed some injectors. So instead of just getting some second-hand injectors out of a second-hand manifold that I had sitting around, a plenum sitting around, I whipped the injectors out of my running engine. So the VVti injectors are a little bit different to the early model. This is an early model. I have a bucket of spares here. That's not a VVti injector, that's something else. These are VVti injectors. So the back ones have got this stuff on, bit of insulation, sound deadening, and the front ones don't. And that's why on the listings on Toyo DIY, they've got different injectors marked up or listed. However, they're actually the same unit. But these ones have got this stuff on and these ones don't. So in this case, I'm working with the pink 3UZ injectors, which is the same injector as the pink 1UZ VVti injectors. Okay, so that pink style injector does cross over from the 1UZ VVti's into some of the 3UZ engines. Here is a intake manifold. This is off a 4-litre VVti. It's had the AVIS or ACIS removed. That solenoid or the actuator removed, and there's the fitting that would normally be for the brake booster on some models. And of course, some models don't have it, so it's blank. And we have a fuel pressure dampener here and a fuel pressure dampener here. We have this fuel line runs along here. Normally they have, this is crimped on, has a rubber piece crimped on, such as this one, and it comes up to a fitting here where it attaches onto the vehicle. There is no return line, and you can see here, if you were trying to work on this in place, it's a little bit tight back there. There's the actuator. They do change these heater hoses. Some of them are over here. Okay, so this does alter. They're not all the same, the heater hoses, and there's the fuel line that I'm talking about that runs between the left-hand rail and the right-hand rail. These dampener bolts are a 22mm spanner. So the dampener comes out. I have done a video on fuel dampeners, and you see the special carcellated nut which goes under the dampener. And I just wish everyone could smell the smell I'm getting now. This is stale fuel. And there is the normal type sealing washer. They're called gaskets in the Toyota. There's the gasket for the top one. And there is a gasket for the bottom one. Please tell me I brought the gasket out. Yeah. And there is the gasket for the bottom one. There are multiple numbers for that lower crush washer. There is a 10mm bolt that is normally there that holds this onto the back of the plenum. These dampeners are the same as the early ones. And there's that fuel pipe. There are nuts there and there. and then we can lift off the fuel rail. Now this one, no, it hasn't been apart before. It's a virgin. Come on, up she come. And you too. What are we going to get? Oh, there we go. That O-ring's popped. So what we have is an air-assisted injector. You can see the design is quite different to the early ones. There's an O-ring below the air-assisting ports. I've done a big video on it, but the air travels from up by the throttle body. It's distributed throughout the plenum. It comes down and through here. It comes out and it through here is, and that's why we've got these blanky holes here and here. I believe there'll be one there and there. See, we can see it there and there. It's in the design. And it supplies the idle air to this part of the injector. So we've got a seal here and a seal there. There's the cushion at the top, which is the same as the early injectors. And you see where this one came out, this seal popped off like this. It's actually damaged that bottom cup of the injector. I'm actually going to bin that injector. I'm not going to trust it where the end's broken. Instead of being nice and round, we've got round to hold the seal in place. That one, I'm going to bin it. Fortunately, I've got that container of spares. And it seals on this gasket surface, that sealing surface right there. So you can see it sealing on that surface there. If you want to find out more about the air assisting side of these injectors, I've got a video all about a VVti plenum, which I never thought I'd be able to talk for as long as I did about a VVti plenum, but there's more in these manifolds, or more to them, than a lot of people know. There's the one with the cover on. So it's got like a piece of shrinky wrap around it, bit of sleeving, clear sleeving, and then it's got the insulator or the dampener material, foam material around the body of the injector. It only has those at the back by the firewall. The connectors are the same as the early injectors and an RX-8 injector. And people often ask whether we can fit these injectors. Well, watch. So that will actually go in there and it will seal up to some degree inside of here. Works perfectly fine with NA vehicles. However, with boosted vehicles, I'm not a fan. I generally have a sleeve. There's an RX-8 and it goes. Top O-ring is the same, cushion is the same, height is the same. However, you'll need to block off the air assistance ports. Otherwise, you're going to have an air leak going backwards through here, back up to the throttle body. Another day, I will do a more in-depth video on fitting a normal style injector into the VVti intake manifold. I've also fitted ID injectors into it, where I've had to machine the side of the intake manifold a little bit, so the connector could go onto the injectors. The connector onto the injector. But my main focus today is getting my engine back up to a running state. As I said, I was going to bin one of these injectors, so that's going in the rubbish. And then we're going to put in some new seals and fit the injectors back into my engine. Come on, baby. Come on. There you go. There you go. Oh. Right, I think we're done with this. Let's get rid of that and focus on these injectors. Because these are just second-hand injectors from an unknown source, well, I know where they came from, but I don't know whether they've run for a long time. They probably did once upon a time when the car they came in, but they've been sitting, and when they sit, they tend to get a little bit sticky, which I can turn the wires around. That one sounds good. So I would normally expect someone to be doing this job if they're replacing injectors or they've got an air leak, have had a bad dose of fuel. The reason these ones actually disappeared was because apparently there was a fire. That's probably a little unusual, trying to avoid fires. See how much of a difference the dampener makes? It's clicking fine, but it's much quieter. Maybe it was quieter because it was a bit sticky. Oh, that sounds all right to me. That one, noticeably quieter. It's getting subbed out. That's better. So as you heard there, one was a little bit quieter. I'm going to bin it. I've got plenty of others, so it's not worth me taking a risk on one. Ideally, these would be flowed and checked and ultrasonically cleaned. It's for my test engine. It's going to get a hiding. It's going to be sat for a long time or long periods and then fired up and run without water in the engine. So second-hand injectors in this case will be just fine. But we're going to put some new seals on, which is why we're here. First, we remove the top seal. I'm going to remove the bottom O-ring or seal. I'm going to remove the cushion, which is on the top. And I'm going to remove the lower insulator. That one's much harder. So unlike the early ones, these later VVti's have 4 seals per injector. Right, now new ones. we have genuine new O-rings. I got 2 packets of those. I got some lower injector insulators and some cushions. Where's my cushions? And they're grommets. I call them cushions. That's the little one at the top. And they are different in the lower ones. Of course, that's the early lower ones. The early ones are just like a more conventional type seal compared to the insulators on the later ones. Right, lube, Vaseline, good. Rubber grease, I think that's better. Silicone spray, it's okay. This is inox, similar to CRC 556 and those sorts of products. Okay, but not my favorite, okay? I don't want anything that's going to react with the rubber for long periods. Hence, my favorite one is a little bit of rubber grease. Don't go in dry, guys. Now, of course, it's the tip, that one, and that one you do not want to go in dry, okay? Those ones you do not want to go in dry at all. That one will slip on fine. Now the top cushion or the grommet is the same as the early ones. Just a little bit of lube to help them go on. Oh, I got a spare. So the top and the bottom O-rings are the same. I'm being careful not to damage the bottom plastic piece on the injector. As I said earlier, don't go and dry. Righto, guys, also remember when you're done, put your lid on your lube. So these guys are all ready to slip in the hole now. Pretty basic job. You put them in the hole. Then we slip the rail in, and I'm just going to, because they're lubed, they're just going to slip in nicely. Now I find it on the VVti, because of these flies in the way, it's easier to put the injectors in the holes like that. Then on go your nuts. And of course, unlike real life, you actually do want tight nuts. And the other side. You do see that even though I'm saying we need tight nuts, I am only using a 1/4 inch spanner. Oh, it's a ratchet. Then you very carefully set the washers on each side. And pop the fuel dampeners in. And I've got the correct washers, of course, on the dampeners. .22. You see this one's got the actual booster fitting, brake booster fitting. And torque these appropriately. This little nut can be done up. Oh, it's a bolt, it's not a nut. And there we're done. VVti injectors, new seals, done. Just like the early ones, I'm seeing them starting to go hard, so I do recommend a new set. I'm starting to see leaks through them, so it's a good idea to get them changed as a maintenance to keep them up to standard. Hope that's been helpful. Talk to you again soon. Catch you later.